Who's the best player in the country?
To the media or me?
As you see it.
I feel like I'm the best player in the country.
Okay, who's the second best player in the country?
Shit.
People didn't notice the game. They're noticing it now. Well, that's because of Caitlin Clark, not Angel Reese. But there's nothing about her game that's really interesting.
Caitlin Clark is the best women's basketball player any of us have ever seen.
Angel Reese recently made headlines with her controversial claims about being sexualized, blaming Caitlin Clark's fan base. In a viral moment, Reese suggested she was targeted because of her appearance and online presence.
I get to speak out on things just because I just try to ignore, and I just try to stand strong. Like, I've been through so much, I've seen so much, I've been attacked so many times. Death threats, I've been sexualized, I've been threatened, I've been so many things, and I've stood strong every single time.
Reese can control what she does. If she doesn't want people talking about her sexuality, don't make your sexuality the point of your Instagram page.
But fans aren't buying it. Reese, who has embraced a Barbie image on her Instagram, now accuses Caitlin Clark's fans of contributing to the negative attention. People are calling this out as clout chasing, and the connection to Clark feels forced. What's really going on here? Is Angel Reese just using Caitlin Clark's name to stay relevant? Meanwhile, Caitlin Clark's incredible performances in the WNBA continue to dominate headlines.
Caitlin Clark is the best women's basketball player any of us have ever seen.
Breaking records and drawing huge audiences. The comparisons between the two stars are becoming increasingly one-sided, with Clark emerging as a generational talent, while Reese struggles to maintain consistency. Many are pointing to Reese's jealousy, especially as Clark's star power overshadows her own. The WNBA is now under fire for its handling of aggressive fouls targeting Caitlin Clark. One of the most talked about incidents involved Diamond DeShields.
Here's Clark for 29 points, gets tripped up. Caitlin Clark and Diamond
who committed a brutal foul against Clark during a high-profile WNBA game. Fans were outraged, and many are calling for WNBA Commissioner Kathy Engelbert to address the league's growing safety concerns. Yet the league remains silent, and this has fans demanding answers.
Then what happens is Diamond DeShields body blocks her like she's playing football, running down the floor, clearly runs right into her to knock her over. Flagrant foul called. That's 2 more. That's 5 free throws in a minute because y'all can't control yourselves. Not because of the referees.
The question remains, is the WNBA protecting its star players like Caitlin Clark, or are they dropping the ball? This rivalry between Angel Reese and Caitlin Clark is about more than just basketball. It's also fueling discussions about race and favoritism in the WNBA.
Some sensitivities of rivalries between players. In the case of Angel Reese, who's just had to shut it down because of a wrist injury, Caitlin Clark, who's continuing to play. Rivalry that goes back to their college days, presumably. But now it seems on some social media channels to have taken a darker turn, a more menacing turn, where race has been introduced into the conversation, where sexuality is sometimes introduced into the conversation. How do you try and stay ahead of that? Uncharitable things about the other.
Well, the one thing that's great about the league right now, we do sit at this intersection of culture and sport and fashion and music. Like, the WNBA players are really looked at now as kind of cultural icons.
True.
And when you have that, you have a lot of attention on you. There's no more apathy. Everybody cares. It is a little that Bird Magic moment, if you recall, from 1979 when those 2 rookies came in from a big college rivalry, one white, one black.
Serena Williams, a legendary name in sports, even weighed in, telling Caitlin Clark that critics are simply jealous of her unmatched talent.
Clark, what advice would you have maybe for her?
I just love that she tries to stay grounded, and she says she doesn't, what did she say? She doesn't have a social, she doesn't look at her social, and I get it. I don't either. And I think it's so important to just to continue to do what she's doing, and no matter what other people do, then if people are negative, it's because they can't do what you do, basically, and hopefully she'll continue to do what she's doing. So
Clark continues to rise above the drama, letting her on-court skills do the talking, while Reese appears to focus on off-court narratives that detract from the game. The fan base is growing tired of the unnecessary drama. They're not tuning in to see these personal feuds. They're here for the basketball, and Caitlin Clark is giving them just that. Clark's presence has boosted WNBA viewership by 180% and led to sold-out arenas whenever she plays. In contrast, Reese's public statements seem more self-centered, and the difference in their approaches is becoming clear. Caitlin Clark is all about her team, while Angel Reese appears to make it all about herself.
And I'm happy. I mean, they still got us. They got one up on us, so I'm just happy for the team, and I want to make it about us. I just want our team. Chicago, they came out tonight, so I'm just happy for us.
As the WNBA continues to face backlash over these incidents, the league's future is at a critical juncture. Clark is driving the WNBA's resurgence, but unless the league steps up to protect her from the increasing aggression she faces, they risk losing the momentum she's brought. The constant comparisons between Clark and Reese are growing stale. One is focused on winning, while the other seems stuck in a cycle of self-promotion. Caitlin Clark has proven that she can handle the pressure, but fans are concerned about the WNBA's inability to protect its biggest star. In a recent game, Clark was on the receiving end of yet another aggressive foul, this time from Angel Reese herself.
Clark, hammer. Reese, yep, across the head, and they will go to the monitor.
Fans were quick to label it a flagrant foul, demanding stricter enforcement from the league. This wasn't the first time Clark has been targeted, and it won't be the last if the WNBA doesn't intervene. Angel Reese, on the other hand, continues to make headlines for all the wrong reasons. Instead of focusing on her game, she seems more interested in comparing herself to Caitlin Clark.
Caitlin is an amazing player, and I've always thought she was an amazing player. We've been playing each other since high school, like literally been playing each other since high school, and like knowing that like there's never been beef. Like we've talked trash to each other in AAU, like that it's been that. So I think it's really just the fans, her fans.
But fans are seeing through the act. Every time you see Angel, it's about her. Caitlin, it's about the team, one fan remarked. This growing divide between the two players is emblematic of the larger issues within the WNBA. The league needs to shift the focus back to basketball, not personal drama. Despite the distractions, Caitlin Clark continues to shine. Over the past 2 months, she has been in top form, setting records and leading her team to success. Her three-point shooting is on fire, and she's already broken the franchise record for most three-pointers in a season. Whether at home or on the road, fans are flocking to see her in action. It's no wonder she's being hailed as the future face of the WNBA. Clark's leadership goes beyond scoring. She's become a fan favorite because of her ability to connect with the audience, signing autographs, taking pictures, and lifting her teammates both on and off the court. Compare that to Angel Reese, who seems more focused on her own brand. Fans are beginning to ask, who is really elevating the WNBA, Clark or Reese? The physicality in the WNBA is no joke, but the aggression directed at Caitlin Clark is reaching new levels.
Sometimes your emotions get the best of you. Happened to me multiple times throughout the course of my career. People are competitive. It is what it is. And she's having a tremendous season. She's played great basketball in my eyes, probably in first place for 6th player of the year. And, it's just basketball at the end of the day. There's no grudges. There's nothing like that. It's a sport. It's competitive. It's not going to be nice all the time. That's not what basketball is. And I think people that play that at the
Fans are not only concerned about player safety, but are also frustrated by the league's lack of action. Some are even threatening to boycott the WNBA if they don't step up and protect their players.
You know when's the last time I watched a WNBA game? Never. Till today. I've still not watched a WNBA game.
Caitlin Clark is single-handedly bringing in record-breaking crowds and attention. But if the WNBA doesn't address the issues surrounding her, they risk losing everything she's worked to build. Serena Williams' recent praise for Caitlin Clark underscores the impact Clark is having on not just the WNBA, but the world of sports. Williams told Clark, no matter what people do, it's because they can't do what you do. It's a powerful statement that reflects the level of respect Clark has earned across the sports community. As Clark continues to stay grounded and focused on her performance, Angel Reese's attempts to stir controversy are looking more and more like desperate grabs for attention. The rivalry between Clark and Reese reached new heights when Clark was once again fouled aggressively, sparking outrage among fans. Many labeled it as a flagrant foul and called on the WNBA to enforce stricter penalties. This wasn't the first time Clark has been targeted, and fans are growing increasingly frustrated with the league's inaction. The comparisons between Caitlin Clark and Angel Reese are starting to feel one-sided, with Clark continuing to rise as the league's biggest star, while Reese struggles to stay relevant.
Caitlin Clark is actually very, very skilled. Angel Reese has none. She's an energy player. That's it. She's not a skilled basketball player, and People are starting to point that out. She's not going to like it.
As the WNBA navigates this critical period, Caitlin Clark's performances are setting new standards for the league. Her ability to lead her team, both with her scoring and leadership, is unmatched. Fans are loving her style of play, and her impact is undeniable. But as Clark continues to break records and elevate the WNBA, the constant comparisons to Angel Reese are becoming tiresome. One player is focused on the team, while the other seems more focused on herself. The WNBA is at a crossroads. The league needs to protect its star players, address the ongoing safety concerns, and refocus on the game itself. Caitlin Clark has brought unprecedented attention to the WNBA, and the league has a chance to capitalize on her success. But first, they need to step up and address the deeper issues that are holding them back. What are your thoughts on the Angel Reese and Caitlin Clark rivalry? Is the WNBA doing enough to protect its players and address the growing tensions? Drop your comments below, and don't forget to like and subscribe for more WNBA updates and analysis. Stay tuned as we continue to follow this unfolding story. Thanks for watching.
What is Caitlin Clark doing to set off any of this negativity? Caitlin Clark goes to work every day and plays basketball well. And she stays off of social media. She's not subtweeting. She's not doing all this. She's not doing any extracurricular things.
The WNBA world is in chaos, and Caitlin Clark is at the center of it all. Legendary Hall of Famer Cheryl Swoopes has been caught throwing major shade at Clark, and the basketball community is buzzing. But what's even more shocking, Rachel DeMita, a former Division I basketball player and well-known media figure, has jumped into the debate to defend Clark, and she isn't holding back.
We have to talk about Caitlin Clark's #1 hater, Cheryl Swoopes.
Is this a generational clash between old legends and new stars? Or is there something more at play? Stay tuned as we break down the controversy that's shaking up the WNBA and its fan base. Caitlin Clark is no stranger to making headlines, and her rise to stardom in the WNBA has been nothing short of extraordinary. From her debut, she has been a game changer, breaking records left and right, while captivating fans with her electrifying style of play. Whether it's draining three-pointers from way beyond the arc or making game-changing assists, Clark has proven that she is a generational talent. Her performance has not only transformed the Indiana Fever, but has also increased the visibility of the entire WNBA. Clark's ability to dominate the court, paired with her competitive spirit, has quickly made her the face of the league. She consistently puts up huge numbers, averaging 25 points per game and leading her team to victories they hadn't seen in years. She is also the leading candidate for Rookie of the Year, an accolade that seems all but guaranteed at this point. Yet despite her undeniable talent and impressive numbers, Clark has faced an unusual amount of backlash. Some of it stems from older players who seem to resent the amount of attention she is getting. The biggest name to voice criticism? None other than WNBA legend Cheryl Swoopes. Cheryl Swoopes, a Hall of Famer and 3-time MVP, is no stranger to success in women's basketball. She paved the way for future generations and solidified her place as one of the greatest players to ever step onto a WNBA court. So why is she throwing shade at Caitlin Clark? In a recent interview, Swoopes made comments that seemed to discredit Clark's achievements. She claimed that Clark's record-breaking numbers are less impressive because she had an extra year of eligibility due to COVID-19. According to Swoopes,
if you're going to break a record, to me, if it's legitimate, you have to break that record in the same amount of time that that player set it.
Okay.
So if Kelsey Plum set that record in 4 years, well, Caitlin should have broke that record in 4 years. But because there's a COVID year, and then there's another year, you know what I mean? So she's already had an extra year to break that record.
By having more time, Swoopes implied that Clark's record is somehow less legitimate. Swoopes didn't stop there. She also criticized Clark's style of play, suggesting that Clark takes an excessive number of shots per game, about 40 by her count.
How much more experience that gives you over other players coming in, right? So people say, dang, like he or she's killing them, but you have a 25-year-old playing against a 20-year-old. Like, you should be killing them. Because you've been doing it a lot longer than they have. Clark right now probably takes about 40 shots a game.
This comment immediately raised eyebrows, as it seemed like an attempt to diminish Clark's accomplishments rather than celebrate them. Fans were quick to react, with many defending Clark and pointing out that records are meant to be broken. But it wasn't just fans who spoke up. Rachel DeMita, a former Division I basketball player and host of NBA 2K TV, decided she couldn't stay silent any longer. Rachel DeMita has become a well-known figure in basketball circles, both as a former player and as a media personality. When she heard Cheryl Swoopes' comments about Caitlin Clark, she took to social media to offer a passionate defense of the young star. DeMita didn't mince words.
Cheryl Swoopes hating Caitlin Clark so much that she literally can't even say her name. It's like Caitlin Clark is the Voldemort if Cheryl Swoopes was Harry Potter. Like, literally cannot say Caitlin Clark's name. It is so bizarre.
She called Swoopes' remarks baseless and accused her of being jealous of Clark's success.
Whether you think she's the greatest basketball player to come out of college or not, doesn't mean that you should throw shade and not include her in discussions. It just makes you look petty, it just makes you look jealous, and it just makes you look like a hater.
DeMita pointed out that much of the criticism aimed at Clark seems to come from a place of envy. How could a young player like Caitlin Clark, who is bringing so much attention to the WNBA, face this kind of backlash from a legend like Swoopes? According to DeMita, it's simple. Clark's success has threatened the old guard. In her post, DeMita suggested that instead of tearing down young talent, veterans like Swoopes should be celebrating them. Clark isn't just a great player, she's growing the league, attracting new fans, and bringing attention to the sport. The numbers back this up. WNBA viewership skyrocketed by 180%, and ticket sales are up significantly, largely thanks to players like Clark. DeMita argued that this kind of growth should be celebrated, not criticized. What's happening here is more than just a simple spat between two basketball figures. This controversy reflects a bigger issue in sports, the tension between the old guard and the new generation. Cheryl Swoopes, a three-time MVP and Hall of Famer, represents the legends of the WNBA. Caitlin Clark, on the other hand, represents the new era of athletes who are breaking records, gaining massive media attention, and helping the WNBA grow faster than ever. It's no secret that the WNBA has seen a surge in viewership, ticket sales, and media coverage, largely thanks to players like Caitlin Clark. Clark has brought new fans to the game, and her influence is undeniable. Just look at the numbers. WNBA viewership jumped by 180%, and ticket sales are through the roof. Much of that can be attributed to the hype surrounding Clark. But the question remains, why are some of the league's veterans seemingly reluctant to embrace this change? Swoopes' comments suggest that the older generation might feel their legacy is being overshadowed. In a surprising turn of events, Cheryl Swoopes was reportedly pulled from broadcasting a game involving Caitlin Clark. The WNBA allegedly made the move due to concerns about Swoopes' ability to call Clark's games fairly.
We're like, did Cheryl Swoopes get fired? They took her off this game, and a lot of people were also happy about that because we don't know what her commentary would have been like with the fever on the court.
Rumors are swirling that the decision came after Swoopes was accused of racism, with some saying she harbored bias against Clark.
So for people to come at me and say that I made those comments because I'm a racist, like, first of all, black people can't be racist. I have, like, no issues with Caitlin.
This news sent shockwaves through the WNBA community. Fans, players, and commentators alike weighed in on the situation, with many questioning if Swoopes' comments were rooted in jealousy, racial bias, or simply a refusal to acknowledge Clark's greatness. This drama caught the attention of big names in sports media, including Stephen A. Smith.
There seems to be some haterade in the league in regards to Clark, starting with WNBA legend Cheryl Swoopes herself.
Never one to shy away from controversy, Stephen A. took issue with Swoopes for praising the Indiana Fever, but failing to even mention Caitlin Clark. In one of his fiery rants, he asked how anyone could praise the Fever without giving credit to the player who is, without a doubt, their biggest star. He called Swoopes out for letting her personal feelings cloud her judgment.
Yes, I did listen to your entire podcast. You didn't mention Caitlin Clark. So I was right, number one. Number two, your personal relationship, what that got to do with your coverage? Ain't nobody said don't mention them. Ain't nobody said don't applaud them. Nobody told you to ignore them.
And that critique resonated with many fans. Clark's WNBA peers have also weighed in. Some have shown support for Clark, acknowledging that while breaking records is great, winning championships is ultimately what matters. But there's no denying that Clark's presence in the league is having a massive impact. And the numbers don't lie. As Demita pointed out, the attention, viewership, and financial support that Clark has brought to the WNBA are undeniable. At the heart of this debate is a question that needs answering. Is the backlash Caitlin Clark is receiving really about her breaking records, or is there something deeper going on? Rachel Demita made it clear that the hate directed at Clark feels personal. Whether it's jealousy, frustration with the new era, or just the natural tension between different generations of players, it's clear that Clark is a target. Cheryl Swoopes' comments about Clark's achievements sparked outrage because they seem dismissive and unfair. It's one thing to critique a player's performance. It's another to undermine their entire career. Swoopes questioned whether Clark's records should even count, simply because she had more time to break them. But as Demita pointed out, records are meant to be broken, and every player has a different path. But the drama doesn't end here. As Caitlin Clark continues to break records and push the boundaries of what's possible in the WNBA, it's clear that the tension between the old and new generations is only going to intensify. Will Clark's haters finally give her the respect she deserves, or will the backlash continue to grow? And how will legends like Cheryl Swoopes navigate this new era of women's basketball? One thing's for sure, Caitlin Clark is here to stay, and her impact on the game is just beginning. But the question remains, will the WNBA's veterans embrace the change? Or will the league continue to be divided between the past and the future? Make sure to drop your thoughts in the comments. Is Caitlin Clark unfairly criticized, or do legends like Cheryl Swoopes have a point? Let us know what you think, and stay tuned for more updates on this ongoing drama.
How much more experience that gives you over other players coming in, right? So people say, dang, like he or she's killing them, but you have a 25-year-old playing against a 20-year-old. Like, you should be killing them. Because you've been doing it a lot longer than they have. Clark right now probably takes about 40 shots a game.
Here we go.
Cheryl Swoopes has been stirring up controversy in the WNBA, particularly with her critical comments about rising superstar Caitlin Clark. This season, Swoopes has made no secret of her jealousy, but her latest actions have taken things to a whole new level. ESPN, the network that's been closely following Caitlin Clark's meteoric rise, has highlighted her impact on the WNBA numerous times, making Swoopes' criticism even more surprising. Diamond DeShields recently made headlines in WNBA news for an aggressive play against Caitlin Clark, sparking intense debate among WNBA fans. Imagine this. DeShields intercepts Clark at half court during a key Indiana Fever game, not with just any foul, but with a clear, frustration-driven play. The fallout from this incident was immediate, with WNBA analysts and fans calling it out as a dirty play.
Against Caitlin Clark, it wasn't okay. It was a flagrant foul.
Igniting a firestorm of controversy. The aftermath of Diamond DeShields' actions didn't stop at just criticism. DeShields faced a barrage of backlash, including receiving racist threats.
Diamond DeShields received racist threats after Caitlin Clark flagrant foul,
which highlighted ongoing issues within the WNBA community. But amid this storm, Cheryl Swoopes stood out as a vocal supporter of DeShields, continuing her narrative against Caitlin Clark. Swoopes tweeted, "Head up, kid. Hate will not win. You are covered, and there's nothing these evil people can do about that. All love for you." This tweet, while supportive of DeShields, had significant consequences for Swoopes, leading to her removal from the WNBA broadcast team for the highly anticipated Fever versus Dallas Wings game, a pivotal WNBA matchup. When questioned by WNBA fans who were eager to hear her commentary, Swoopes didn't hold back, responding with the now famous phrase, "Not today, Satan." But let's be honest, supporting WNBA players who engage in potentially dangerous, career-threatening actions isn't a good look for a WNBA legend like Swoopes. This incident isn't isolated. It's just the latest in a series of actions that suggest jealousy and resentment towards Caitlin Clark, one of the most talked about players in women's basketball today. Stephen A. Smith, a well-known sports commentator frequently featured on ESPN, has consistently defended Caitlin Clark, and this time was no different. Smith Smith didn't hesitate to call out Cheryl Swoopes for her biased and baseless criticism of Clark.
Swoopes. No, Caitlin Clark. Respectfully, Cheryl Swoopes, you have any idea how that makes you look? You have any idea how that serves to stain any kind of critique of Caitlin Clark?
The Caitlin Clark effect isn't just a buzzword. It's a real phenomenon in women's basketball, driving WNBA viewership and attendance to new heights. Caitlin Clark is redefining the game every time she steps onto the court, breaking WNBA records and setting new standards for what's possible in women's sports. But with greatness comes envy, and Swoopes' actions seem to reflect the challenges that come with being a trailblazer like Caitlin Clark. The tension between Cheryl Swoopes and Caitlin Clark goes back to Clark's college basketball days. Swoopes openly questioned whether Clark's skills would translate to the WNBA, even suggesting that Angel Reese's game was better suited for professional play. Swoopes confidently predicted that Clark wouldn't dominate the WNBA immediately.
Like, nah, it's not gonna be that easy. So will Caitlin Clark be a good pro? Absolutely. Will Caitlin Clark come into the WNBA and do what she's doing right now immediately? Absolutely not. Not gonna happen.
Okay. But as we've seen, Caitlin Clark has exceeded all expectations, proving her doubters wrong at every turn. But Swoopes didn't stop at questioning Clark's abilities. She also criticized Clark's NCAA scoring record, dismissing it as a result of volume shooting rather than skill.
Going to break a record, to me, if it's legitimate, you have to break that record in the same amount of time that that player set it.
Okay.
So if Kelsey Plum set that record in 4 years, well, Caitlin should have broke that record in 4 years. But because there's a COVID year, and then there's another year, you know what I mean? So she's already had an extra year to break that record. So is it truly a broken record? Yeah, that'll go in the record books as Caitlin Clark is the all-time, whatever it is. I don't even know what the number is, but that's the way it'll be. And I don't think it should be.
However, Swoopes got several key facts wrong. She claimed that Caitlin Clark took advantage of an extra year of eligibility due to COVID-19, playing 5 years of college basketball. In reality, Clark played the standard 4 years, just like Kelsey Plum, the previous record holder. What's more, Caitlin broke the record in fewer games, showing that it wasn't just about taking more shots, but making them count. Swoopes also exaggerated by stating that Caitlin Clark takes 40 shots per game, when in truth, Clark's average is closer to 19 shots per game. And perhaps the most glaring mistake, Swoopes claimed that Caitlin is 25 years old when she's actually just 22.
How much more experience that gives you over other players coming in, right? So people say, dang, like he or she's killing them, but you have a 25-year-old playing against a 20-year-old. Like, you should be killing them. Because you've been doing it a lot longer than they have. Clark right now probably takes about 40 shots a game.
Here we go.
These inaccuracies have led many WNBA fans and analysts to question whether Swoopes' criticism is based on facts or personal bias. What Cheryl Swoopes fails to acknowledge is the monumental impact Caitlin Clark is having on women's basketball and the WNBA as a whole. Caitlin Clark is bringing more attention to the WNBA than ever before, inspiring a new generation of young female athletes and drawing in a wider audience to the league. Instead of uplifting the next generation of WNBA players, Swoopes seems intent on undermining their success. But this isn't just about Caitlin, it's about the future of the WNBA. Supporting Caitlin Clark means supporting the growth and evolution of women's basketball. Despite the backlash, Cheryl Swoopes eventually issued an apology, though many found it less than sincere. She defensively stated that black people can't be racist, a comment that did little to mend the situation.
I'm gonna say this, and then I wanna be done with this whole conversation. So for people to come at me and say that I made those comments because I'm a racist, first of all, black people can't be racist.
Meanwhile, Caitlin Clark continues to break records in her rookie WNBA season, solidifying her place in the history of the WNBA. From holding the WNBA single-game assist record to becoming the youngest player to achieve consecutive double-doubles in points and assists, Caitlin's accomplishments are rewriting the WNBA record books. Yet Cheryl Swoopes seems determined to ignore these achievements. It's becoming clear that this isn't just a case of casual criticism. It's starting to look like a personal vendetta, and people are taking notice. Even Stephen A. Smith, known for his outspoken views on ESPN, couldn't stay silent. He publicly criticized Swoopes for her blatant bias against Clark.
Clark and the Fever currently lead the WNBA in average game attendance and per-game TV viewership. But despite the attendance and viewership records, there seems to be some haterade in the league in regards to Clark, starting with WNBA legend Cheryl Swoopes herself.
The statistics don't lie. Caitlin Clark is leading the Indiana Fever to new heights, with the team boasting the highest average game attendance and TV viewership in the WNBA. And yet, Swoopes refuses to give Caitlin the credit she deserves. Instead, Cheryl Swoopes continues to praise other Fever players like Lexi Hull, Kelsey Mitchell, and Aaliyah Boston, while conspicuously leaving Caitlin Clark out of the conversation.
This Indiana team, I'm going to say shout out to Lexi Hull. I'm a big Lexi Hull fan. Watch her in AU. Lexi Hull shot the leather off the ball in their game against Seattle and just couldn't miss. Kelsey Mitchell is just broken. She is just shooting the basketball. Aaliyah Boston, almost a triple-double.
This omission is becoming increasingly difficult for WNBA fans to ignore, especially as Caitlin continues to set new records and drive the success of the Indiana Fever. Swoopes' refusal to acknowledge Clark's contributions is not only petty, but also damaging to her own reputation as a WNBA legend. And the criticism doesn't end there. Swoopes went as far as to suggest that Caitlin's success is due to having better teammates at the Fever compared to Angel Reese's situation at the Chicago Sky. With Caitlin Clark and Angel Reese locked in a tight race for WNBA Rookie of the Year, Swoopes' dismissal of Clark's talent is almost laughable. So, what's next in this unfolding drama? As Caitlin Clark continues to rise in the WNBA, will the league and its legends like Cheryl Swoopes finally give her the recognition she deserves? Or will a shadow of jealousy continue to loom over her achievements? One thing is certain, this story is far from over.